What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's been too long since my last upload, but in that time, I've been making a lot of improvements and changes, including that 3D printer back there. And what that is going to do is open up a lot of opportunities for me constructing some awesome projects. Among them is the topic of this video, a Mark IV armor suit from Halo. So let's see what I've been working on. So I think how I'm going to structure this video is show you all the 3D printed components that I have so far, and then I'll assemble them on this mannequin that I have out there that you can actually see in some of my older videos if you look close enough. But anyway, show you the parts, assemble it on the mannequin, and then we can appreciate it in its unfinished glory. So to start off, we have the first two pieces I printed, which are the forearms. So, left and right forearms with the elbow pads already attached. So these just slip on like that. Now, both of these came off the printer in like a day and a half, I think. I printed them at about 15% infill just because I wanted them to be pretty durable. But then eventually, they're slipping around right now, so eventually I'll have to put some foam on the inside to make sure they don't do that. But yeah, moving on. Here we have the two shoulder pads or shoulder plates, whatever you want to call them. I forget which one goes on which shoulder, but I'll just find some reference photos. But for now, I'll mount that one like that. And this one, you have to see the gray from the filler primer and also the white from some spackling that I used to get rid of the layer lines. It goes on easy. You just spread it around with your finger. Then you sand it down really quick, and it gets the job done pretty well. So I forget how long this piece was. It might have been a day-long print, like 23 hours, something like that. And then we have this other shoulder pad here. This might be my favorite part of the suit so far. I love the silhouette that this big old piece gives you. Eventually I'll have to find I'll have to make some kind of harness to mount all these pieces on. But yeah, moving on. All right, here we have the thigh pieces. So slip these on like they're pants. These have a lot of filler material on them, especially because this is way too big even for a 3D printer that size. My 3D printer, that is an Ender 3 S1 Plus, and that has a 300 by 300 by 300 millimeter build volume, or 300 millimeters cubed. But even at a printer that size, I had to slice these in half in a mesh mixer right along here, and then I had to weld the two pieces back together. So we have a seam that goes all the way around. It starts to vanish because of all this filler material, which is what we want. But I still have to sand this down to a smooth finish so we can get ready for paint. But yeah, two thigh pieces, possibly the biggest pieces I've printed. Next up, kind of a finicky piece, we have the upper arm assembly. So this is three pieces put together. We have the bicep, tricep, and then sidearm piece. We can call it that. But I have these assembled with some elastic straps, like so. What that allows it to do is flex around my arm, like so. Yeah, that goes on like that. Now, eventually, we have to build some straps that go under here to connect these two pieces. But yes, this is just kind of we get an idea of how things are going to be assembled, how things are going to get mounted to my body. But moving on. All right, a piece you all guys have probably been waiting to see. You should have seen in the thumbnail, I think, but this is the helmet. So I am very proud of how this is turning out so far. Obviously, we got a long way to go. It's still that primer gray color. We need to finish it. The finish isn't bad right now. There's still a few detail areas that need a little more work. But the visor right there, that is made out of some cheap plastic I had lying around my room. And then I took some gold window tint. You can look this up on better YouTube videos than this. Sprayed on with some soapy water, lay on the tint. Use your credit card or a squeegee to get all that excess water out, and then you have this mirrored visor. Now this one, I'm going to have to redo this because if you look close enough, it's starting to peel up, all those striations there. That's just, user error. But slips it on like this. And I'm thinking this is looking pretty good. I'm loving the finish of the visor. I'm not sure how this is going to muffle my voice. I film all these on my iPhone. But, yeah, I think this is looking great so far. Yeah, take that all in. This was printed in three pieces. So we have the main skull part here. This seam right there that connects it to the separately printed mouthpiece. It's kind of what I call it. And then we have the brim. So right here, we'll get that in the reflection. We have that seam that the prints came together. So still needs a lot of work, a little lumpy, some pieces that need some extra care. But now moving on. All right, these two pieces I haven't had printed very long. They're done, but we have the cod and the butt piece. So these assemble, kind of make a belt around your waist right there. This one has been covered in just one layer of filler primer, haven't sanded it or anything. Just kind of, yes, keeping up with the effort. Now this piece, actually had to print in 2 parts. Then I welded it together, PLA welding. And what you do there, you take a hot soldering iron. I don't know if I mentioned this already. You melt the plastic together so that it essentially becomes one piece. So that's what all these pieces are in here. Kind of burned it a little bit, but you know, it's strong, doesn't come apart. And then I've got some filler material on the back that kind of smooths out that seam. But moving on. All right, now for a part which is probably the biggest piece I've printed yet, the chest and back assembly. Now these are on a piece of elastic right in there. Keeps it mobile, pretty comfortable when I put it on, which I'll do right now. So yeah, it looks kind of weird without the shoulder pieces to finish the silhouette. But we've got a seam right here, where these kind of strap pieces are, and obviously a separation there for putting it on. There's a seam there because I had to print these 2 box parts separately, and then 2 more pieces on both sides of the back. This part's turning out okay. I'm pretty proud of how it's coming out. You know, still a lot of work to do. As you can see, you know, just filler material splashed on there, and no paint yet, but we're getting there. Now, there are a few other pieces that I have laying around, but they're either mirror images of what I've already shown you or something else. But what I haven't shown you yet are the boot covers. Now, these came off the printer this morning, actually. So here's the front of the boot cover. It covers up the toes. Pretty good print quality, if I do say so myself. But then the other piece is this part that kind of goes over the top of your foot. So these kind of go together like that. And then obviously there's a heel piece that kind of cups on like that. But that's all the pieces I can show you. Now let's get on to mounting it on the mannequin. All right, so this is the mannequin. So as you can see, these are just normal PVC pipes with some fittings at the bottom. And then this is a couple 2x4s I put together as a base. These slots are just glued and nailed in there. So we have the legs, the hips, underneath the shirt here. Then I got some foam in there, kind of give it some dimension. Then arms are at an outwards angle like so. And then we have the neck and the head with a ball on top to help support the helmet. So the first part I'll put on is the chest. And so you can see it was printed in gray and originally before I put the primer on. But this goes on like that. I'm doing this the best I can. I'm holding an iPhone. There we go. And that just sits like that. So eventually I haven't printed, but I need to put the rib pieces on to connect the front and the back there. But for now, they just kind of hang off like that. The next piece I put on is this upper arm assembly that I showed you earlier. And this has some sticky Velcro on it. Hopefully this will still stick into place. Hey, look at that. Okay, yeah, that goes right there. All right, shoulder number 1 just gets put on like that. And that'll stay pretty well. Shoulder number 2. Simple. Now the forearms are definitely going to be hard to do with one hand, but these elbow pieces right here, what I do is I take these off without taking the arm off, hopefully. There it is. Roll up the sleeve, maybe. Slide this on there like that. Hold it in place before we put this back on. All right, there it is. So I turned it in a little bit so you can see the elbow pad, how it kind of links up to the rest of the suit. But yeah, this entire arm is actually printed out. Now I have a hand plate somewhere else. Hang on. there it is. All right, so chest, shoulders, and arms. Now you have the cod piece and the butt plate, and this looks strange. Yeah, this makes me look. This looks like my Spartan is just like caked up, but I mean, if I do this, it's like not as bad, I don't think, and that's how it's gonna be set against my body anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna fix that. But anyway, yeah, so yeah, progress, fellas. All right, now we got the two thighs here and here, just kind of sitting on the floor until I figured out how to mount them to the leg PVC pipes. Because in order to do that, I would have to find some kind of like elastic, like suspenders or something to wrap around the traps or whatever, and then just let that hang until it gets down to there, and then that would keep them like kind of floating. Eventually, when I print out the shins, which are actually going right here. Yeah, this is the bottom half of the shins, or the right shin, and then this is the top piece right here, and then the knee pads go right in this empty space right here. But if you can kind of imagine, that piece will eventually get attached here. But yeah, this is at, let's see, 81%. Yeah, that's exciting to see. I'm right up, just about done. But yeah, back out to here. Eventually, the shins that are in there will sit right there. I can mount those, just let them rest on top of that. Yeah, doing this just kind of gives me a good perspective, realizing how far I've come, and helps me appreciate the hard work I've done. But yeah, this is the suit so far. So last step is to put on the helmet. So let's do that. All right, now here is the helmet, and there's me recording this on an iPhone. So this is the last part I put on, just to kind of give myself a lot of perspective, and it just tops off the entire look. And hopefully I can find a non-copyrighted version of the Halo theme song to put over this, but in case not, yeah, that was weird. But basically, this is everything I can mount on the mannequin so far. So shoulders, chest, helmet, forearms, and waist. Still working on some suspenders or some kind of harness that I can use to put on the legs. But yes, I'm pretty proud of the progress I've made. So let's move on to the next part of the video. So I don't have a 3D printing workshop yet. Everything I do is out of my room in the house I live with my parents. But this is a new addition to my room. This is kind of my my shelf de la making crap. So I'll flip the camera and show you what we got going on. All right, starting at the top, we have all my filler primers and multiple colors of spray paint. Here we have the greens I'm planning on using for my suit. Here we have Plastidip. That's for that is for the foam work I do, and then this is some fabric glue that I'm gonna use for the undersuit. Here are some actual parts for the suit. So this is a little capsule that goes on the side of the knee, like right at the bottom of those empty spaces of the thigh pieces. You've seen these before, just assembled. These are some parts of that, or I guess I should say all the parts of the upper arm assembly. So bicep, tricep, and then the mid side arm piece. I gotta find out a word for that. These are the parts of the knees. These go at like the top parts. That's a whole thing. And then these are the parts that go on the ribs. Here's the bottom of the knees. So essentially what you do is you take it here and then it goes like that. The bottom here, kind of highlight, this is where I keep all of my filament. So these rolls are mostly done. That one's about halfway finished. We got a fresh one at the bottom here. That blue is fresh, so is that black. And then this is that one's darn near empty. What this is me giving you a rundown of all the stuff I have on the shelf, because a lot of it's going to make its way onto the armor eventually, or it's going to be used to make more armor. Okay, so quick update on the thigh pieces. I've still got all the filler and stuff on there, but I started off, I made this belt right here, just out of some pretty basic like nylon straps. And then I stitched on this piece of elastic, and that is super glued underneath this lip right here. So that keeps this this thigh piece fastened to my leg. See if I can zoom out here. There it is. Yeah, so that just does that. It's, you know, this is just like establishing the connection. So we're probably gonna add a few more straps, probably like right through here, and then further back, so that it doesn't rotate as much. All right, before we wrap up this video, I just wanted to show you one thing I did get finished between takes. So this whole shin got finished, and we have some, you know, melting spots where I fused the two prints together. But then we see how the knees actually slot into that whole piece. But now I am able to have the shins down there and then the thighs resting right on top, giving you an idea of what it's supposed to look like once it's on my body. Okay, this should be the last section of the video. I got my printer going right now. Hopefully it doesn't make any audio issues. But two additions to the chest and back piece. I added this rib section right here is what I call it, because it just connects the chest and the back piece. That looks pretty cool. But it's just attached in there with some super glued elastic straps, and then some, I think I have a nylon strap back here that just lets it, you know, stay in place. But this gives it more of that shape that it needs to have, and it keeps the two halves from kind of like collapsing like that when it's on the mannequin. But because of this, I now have to put on the armor. I can't just slip it on from top down. I actually have to go into it like sideways. I go in through this side, slip my arm through, because essentially what I'm doing is putting on a plastic vest that doesn't flex a lot. So, which means I can't attach this other side in the same way I attach this one. So what I'm planning on doing is taking on this, using this parachute clip and kind of just like gluing it in like that. So one side will be underneath this spot right here, and then I'll be able to clip it in and clip it out. So I'll just open it up like a latch, and then I'll be able to kind of slide my way out of the armor. But that's just another component that you don't really realize until you're in the middle of the project is I want to make this halo armor, but then I have to find a way to get in and out of it comfortably and efficiently. Oh, then one other thing I added is this kind of abdomen section. This is just super glued on with some elastic, nothing crazy. But yeah, that is pretty much the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check back when I have another update video, and I hope you guys have a good day. So, adios.